University hall ଲାଗିଛନ୍ତି ଏବେ
Government college study.
ନା
Private college.
autonomous
Good morning. Let's start the topic on current development. Fine. The first topic that we'll take for discussion today is about the global methane tracker. Okay. So globally, how to track the methane release, which has emerged as a big environmental challenge. Okay. To start, according to International Energy Agency annual methane global tracker report, fossil fuel companies emitted 120 million metric ton of methane into atmosphere in 2022. Who released it? Fossil fuel companies. The company which are extracting fossil fuel like oil. Okay. They have emitted a huge amount. Okay. That is 120 million metric ton of methane into the atmosphere. It added that these companies have done almost nothing to curb the emission despite their pledge to find and fix leaking infrastructure. Although they have committed themselves to check it, but they have not done anything. Okay. The report said 75% of the methane emission from the clean energy sector, can be reduced with the help of cheap and readily available technology. The implementation of such measure would cost less than 3% of the net income received by the oil and gas industry in 2022, but fossil fuel companies failed to take any substantial action regarding the issue. The energy sector accounts for around 40% of the total average methane emission from human activity, as oil and natural gas companies are known to release methane into the atmosphere when natural gas is flared or vented. The greenhouse gas is also released through leak and valves and other equipment during the drilling, extraction and transportation process. What? The energy sector accounts for around 40% of the total average methane emission from the human activity. As oil and natural gas companies are known to release methane into the atmosphere when natural gas is flared or vented, the greenhouse gas is also released through leak from valves and other equipment during the drilling, extraction and transportation process. So, at every stage, from extraction to transportation, huge amount of methane is released to the atmosphere from the fossil fuel producing companies. Okay, this is what is a big worry for everyone. More than 260 billion cubic meter of natural gas, mostly composed of methane, is wasted through flaring and methane leak globally today. Although it's impossible to avoid all of this amount, the right policy and implementation can bring 200 billion cubic meter of additional gas to market. From 260 billion cubic meter, So 200 cubic billion meter can be set, okay, which can be brought to the market. Okay, so this can be brought to the market because this is not being, steps are not being taken. So this is being wasted. Okay, in the oil and gas sector, emission can be reduced by over 75% by implementing well-known measures such as leak detection and repair programs and upgrading leaky equipment. 80% of the available option to cut the release of methane could be implemented by the fossil fuel industry at net zero cost. Based on average annual gas price from 2017 to 2021, around 40% of the methane emissions from oil and gas operation could be avoided as no net cost because the outlay for the abatement measure are less than the market value of the additional gas that is captured. Ultimately, reducing 70%, 75% of the wastage of natural gas would lower global temperature rise by nearly 0.1 degree Celsius by mid-century. This could have the same effect on the soaring global temperature as immediately stopping greenhouse gas emission from vehicles such as car, truck, buses, and two and three wheelers vehicles across the world. However, fossil fuel companies have done little to tackle the problem, which they have committed to do. These fossil fuel companies are committed to do this, but they are not doing this. Okay, so they are not fulfilling their commitment. What they are committed to do, right? This is not the right approach for them because what they have committed to do, they are not doing this. Fine, and this is increasing the threat perception from the fossil fuel emission, especially methane emission, to the atmosphere, and that led to drastic negative impact on the climate. Right? Okay. See, world methane emission from all sources: agriculture, energy, waste, and others. Agriculture is maximum methane, then energy sector, then the waste that are generated, then other sources. Many companies saw hefty profit in 2022 following a turbulent period for international oil and gas market amid the global energy crisis. Fossil fuel producers need to step up and policymakers need to step in, and both must do so quickly. Fossil fuel producers should step up to uh, start the implementing the what they have committed to do, and the enforcement agencies, okay, they should also start taking measures to ensure that this is done. Methane is a greenhouse gas which is responsible for 30% of the warming since pre-industrial time, second only to carbon dioxide. A report by the United Environment Program (UNEP) observed that over a 20-year period, methane is 80 times more potent at warming than carbon dioxide. There are various sources of methane including human and natural sources. Human sources of methane includes landfills, oil and natural gas systems, agricultural activities, coal mining, wastewater treatment, and certain industrial processes. The US Environmental Protection Agency noted the oil and gas sector are among the largest contributor to human sources of methane. NASA notes that human sources, also referred to as anthropogenic sources of methane, are responsible for 60% of global methane emissions. These emissions come primarily from the burning of fossil fuel, decomposition in landfill and agricultural sector. What? Burning of fossil fuel, decomposition in landfills and the agriculture and animal husbandry sector again. In India, for instance, in 2019, Minister of Coal asked state-run coal miner Coal India Limited to produce 2 million metric standard cubic meter per day of coal bed methane gas in the next 2 to 3 years. The coal bed methane, like shale gas, is extracted from what is known as non-conventional gas reservoirs where gas is extracted directly from the rock. There is the source of gas. Fine. The methane is held underground within the coal and is extracted by drilling into the coal steam and removing the groundwater. The resulting drop in the pressure causes the methane to be released from the coal. In recent years, scientists have repeatedly sounded the alarm regarding the increasing amount of methane in the atmosphere. The US National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration said that atmospheric level of methane jumped 17 parts per billion in 2021, beating the previous record of set in 2020. That means in every year, the amount of methane in the atmosphere is increasing. Okay, and this increase, okay, so this increase is a big threat, okay, to the global environmental and climatic issues. Okay, we all have to take steps for this, and this needs. Okay, in recent years, scientists have repeatedly sounded the alarm regarding the increasing amount of methane in the atmosphere. The US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said that atmospheric level of methane jumped 17 parts per billion in 2021, beating the previous record that was recorded in 2020. While carbon dioxide remains in the atmosphere for much longer than methane, methane is roughly 25 times more powerful at trapping heat in the atmosphere and has an important short-term influence on the rate of climate change. But in the global methane pledge, the pledge was first announced by the US and EU and is essential agreement to reduce global methane emission. And the central aim of this agreement is to cut down methane emission by up to 30% from 2020 level by the year 2030. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, methane accounts for about half of the 1.0 degrees Celsius net rise in global average temperature since the pre-industrial era. Rapidly reducing methane emission is complementary to action on carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases and is regarded as the single most effective strategy to reduce global warming in the near term and keep the global goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius with the reach as per the Paris Climate Agreement agreed in 2015. The global community agreed to reduce global temperature by 1.5 degrees centigrade from the pre-industrial level, and that for that they have to reduce that, they have to fix their own emission limit individually. Okay, nationally determined contribution, or it is called popular NDC. Okay, so here at the Paris Climate Agreement, what was fixed? So the Paris Climate Agreement 2015. Okay, so what they fix? They fix 1.5 degree reduction in global temperature, and for that every country with the NDC, nationally determined contribution. NDC by every country, national determined contribution. Okay, the pledge was first announced by the US, EU and is essential agreement to reduce global methane emission. One of the central aim of this agreement is to cut down methane emission by up to 30% from 2020 level by the year 2030. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change (IPCC) report, methane accounts for about half of the 1.0 degrees Celsius net rise in global average temperatures in the pre-industrial era. Rapidly reducing methane emission is complementary to action on carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and is regarded as the single most effective strategy to reduce global warming in the near term and keep the global goal of limiting warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach, what the global community has agreed at the Paris Climate Conference. Right? What is Methane Alert and Response System (MIRS)? In keeping with the relatively new focus on cutting methane emission, the United Nations has decided to set up a satellite-based monitoring system for tracking it and alerting government and corporation to respond. The Methane Alert Response System will integrate data from a large number of existing and future satellites that have the ability to detect methane emission event anywhere in the world and send out notification to the relevant stakeholders to act on it. In the last few years, there has been a lot of emphasis on reducing methane emissions. Methane is the second most common of the six major greenhouse gases, but is far more dangerous than carbon dioxide in its potential to cause global warming. Accounting for about 17% of the current global greenhouse gas emission, methane is blamed for having caused at least 25 to 30% of the temperature rise since the pre-industrial time. However, unlike carbon dioxide, methane is largely a sectoral gas and there are only a few sources of emission. It is possible, therefore, to cut down on the methane emission without having widespread impact on the economy because its global warming potential is about 80% that of carbon dioxide because methane is being released much more than even the carbon dioxide. Fine. So, because its global warming potential is about 80%, 80 times that of the carbon dioxide, a reduction in methane emission also brings big benefit in a short time. Fine. That is what. So, if the carbon emission or the methane emission is released, so global climate will get a big relief. Okay, that is why the emphasis is right now on reducing the methane emission. Okay, so around the world. Okay, action to methane emission is one of the most cost effective and impactful action a country can take. At the Glasgow Climate Conference, nearly 100 countries have come together in a voluntary pledge, now referred to as the Global Methane Pledge, to cut methane emission by at least 30% by 2030 from the 2020 levels. More countries have joined in this initiative since then, bringing the total to nearly 130. A 30% reduction in methane emission by 2030 is expected to result in avoiding 0.2 degree rise in temperature by the year 2050 and is considered absolutely essential in the global effort to keep the temperature increase below the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. The Methane Emission Target Initiative is intended to strengthen these efforts. It could feed into recently formed International Methane Emission Observatory of the UN Environmental Program. To start with, Mars will track the large point emission sources, mainly the fossil fuel industry, especially the oil drilling companies, the fossil fuel industries. Fine, it will be tracked there. Fine, at the oil, the fossil fuel producing companies. Okay, it will be tracked and steps will be taken. Okay, from then to start with, the Mars will track the large part emission source, mainly the fossil fuel industry, but with time would be able to detect emission from coal, waste, livestock, and rice fields as well. Because methane is released from all, from the coal extraction, waste, livestock, and even the paddy field or especially rice field. Large amount of methane is released to the atmosphere. US has announced a proposal to strengthen domestic standard with the aim of reducing methane emission from the oil and gas sector by 87% from the 2005 level. Okay. What is the Global Methane Initiative? The Global Methane Initiative is an international public-private partnership focused on reducing barrier to the recovery and use of methane as an valuable energy source. The Global Methane Initiative provides technical support to deploy methane to energy projects around the world that enable partner country to launch methane recovery and use projects. The Global Methane Initiative focuses on three key sectors: oil and gas, biogas, and coal mines. What is Haridhara? The Haridhara, developed by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research through the comprehensive research over the decade in an anti-methanogenic and supplement prepared for the natural phytosources. It is found very effective in reducing the enteric methane emission up to 17% to 20% when incorporated in the livestock feed. If it is something new in livestock feed, if it is consumed by the livestock, okay, the amount of methane released by the cattle, especially the cattle to the atmosphere, will be reduced to a considerable extent. The partial inhibition of the enteric methanogenesis will have the dual advantage of stabilizing the global warming process and enhancing the productivity by rechannelizing the said biological energy. Okay, so this is a very two-way beneficial program. Okay, which has been launched by the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. How do cow and other animals produce methane? Ruminant species are hooked, grazing, and browsing herbivores that chew cud. Ruminants such as cow, sheep, goat, and buffalo have a special type of digestive system that allow them to break down and digest food that non-ruminant species would be unable to digest. Stomachs of ruminant animals have four compartments, one of which is the rumen, helps them to store partially digested food and let it ferment. This partially digested and fermented food is regurgitated by the animal who chew through it again and finish the digestive process. So they just first swallow it, then store it there, then chew it again, and that is digested. However, as grass and other vegetation ferments in the rumen, it generates methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Ruminant animals such as cow and sheep release this methane through burping. Okay, given the very large number of cattle and sheep on farms in the dairy producing country, these emissions add up to a significant volume. It is estimated that the ruminant digestive system is responsible for 27% of all methane emission for human activity. But you see, it is a natural process. So, human are responsible for carbon emission. But we are pointing figure to the animal because nature has made them and they have been. Okay, so in operation, okay, but if we go that we will stop this from the animals, okay, rather we should think to stop it for not the animal but for others. Okay, so human activity, animal are created by nature. Okay, so nature, we are intervening in nature, and instead of stopping the man-made uh, that the man-made methane emission, check the man-made methane emission. We are trying to check it that how other animals, okay, who are especially ruminant animals, they are releasing the uh, methane to stop it. This is somehow man, because of its intelligence, because the brain is trying to put breath in other animals rather than putting breath in its own methane emission activities. Fine. How are researchers trying to mitigate methane emission? Okay. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has invested in an Australian climate technology startup that aims to curtail the methane emission from cow burps. The startup, Rumin 8, has received funding worth 12 million from Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which get created in 2015. Amazon chief executive Jeff Bezos and Chinese entrepreneur and Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma have also backed the breakthrough funds. Rumin 8 is not the first one to find a dietary solution to cut methane emission from the ruminant species. Scientists have been working on it for quite some time now, as they are looking to make these animals more suitable, sustainable, and less gassy. In 2021 study found that adding seaweeds to cow feed can reduce methane formation in their gut by more than 80%. Apart from this, researchers are also trying to find gene modifying techniques to curtail methane emission in these animals, because right now this dairy become an industry. Okay, we are just adding more animals to that, and definitely emission of methane from those animals will be more. Okay, so, in our own desire to make it more financially remunerative, the dairy industry is growing, and this is where we have put started research on how to give them better diet, which will not release more methane to the atmosphere. So that is why we are trying to change the dietary component of those animals, so we can. Okay, so we can check the release of methane to the atmosphere. Okay, then checking it from the human release. Right. In 2022, scientists in New Zealand announced they had started the world's first genetic program to address the challenge of climate change by breeding sheep that entirely lower amount of methane. New Zealand is also one of the first nations to come up with policy related solutions to this problem. In October 2022, it proposed taxing the greenhouse gas that farm animals produce from burping and urinating. Then the carbon dioxide, fine. So, community around the world emit more carbon dioxide in 2022 than in any other year in record dating to 1990. Fine. Okay. So, as a result of air travel rebounding from the pandemic and more cities turning to coal as low cost source of power, emissions and climate warming gas that are caused by the energy production grew 0.9% to reach 36.8 gigatons in 2022. The International Energy Agency reported the mass of 1 gigaton equivalent to about 10,000 fully loaded aircraft carriers, according to NASA. See what is the conditions and where we are, how we have destroyed, how we are destroying the system. Carbon dioxide released when fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas are burned to power car, planes, homes, and factories. When the gas enter the atmosphere, it traps heat and continue to the warming of the climate. Extreme weather events intensified in 2022, carbon dioxide emissions. Drought reduced the amount of water available for hydropower, which increased the need to burn fossil fuel, and heat waves drove up demand for electricity. Recent report was described as disconcerting by climate scientists who warn that energy users around the world must cut emissions dramatically to slow the dire consequences of global warming. Scientists warn any emission growth, even 1%, is a failure. Any year with higher coal emissions is a bad year for our health and for the earth. Carbon dioxide emission from coal grew by 1.6% in 2022. According to International Energy Agency, many communities, primarily in Asia, switched from natural gas to coal to avoid higher natural gas prices that were worsened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And as global airline traffic increased, carbon dioxide emissions from burning oil grew 2.5%, with about half of the surge resulting from the aviation sector. Global emissions have grown in most years since 1900 and have accelerated over time. One exception was the pandemic year of 2022 when travel all but come to a standstill, so emission was less. According to the international IEA 2020 level of emission, okay, though a record high was nevertheless lower than expected, that was expected. Okay, export as expected. Increased deployment of renewable energy, electric vehicles, and heat pump together help prevent an additional 50 megatons of carbon dioxide emission. Strict pandemic measures and weak economic growth in China also curtailed production, helping to limit overall global emission. And in Europe, electricity generation from wind and solar power exceeded that of gas or nuclear for the first time. The IEA stated without clean energy, the growth of CO2 emission would have been nearly three times as high. International and national fossil fuel companies are making record revenues and need to take their share of responsibility in line with their public pledge to meet climate goals. Though emissions continue to grow at Odisha level, a reversal that could help achieve the climate goals that nations have committed to remain possible. Nations must subscribe renewable, improve energy efficiency, electrify industry and transportation, set a high price for carbon emission, reduce deforestation, plant tree and rid the system of coal. Okay, this is what. So if the efforts are not started now, it will be too late for the global community to control this, and this may affect the global climate severely in times to come. Okay. The next item, next topic for discussion today is the India and Italy relation. Fine. So India and Italy announced the elevation of the bilateral relations to the level of strategic partnership, while also concluding a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation. The meet led to establishment of a startup bridge between India and Italy. What? Startup bridge. Another important area of mutual cooperation is defense. They also decided to organize the joint military exercises and training course on a regular basis. Italy had decided to join the Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative. The two countries also concluded a declaration of intent, migration and mobility. Okay, so this all were decided in the side of the Raisina dialogue. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Raisina dialogue. Okay, the eighth edition of the Raisina dialogue in New Delhi. Italian Prime Minister, okay, Giorgia Meloni, the chief guest of the three-day dialogue. Okay, so at this on the sideline of this Russian dialogue. So the agreement India and Italy was signed. Speaking on the occasion, the Italian Prime Minister said India's leadership in G20 and the Russian dialogue together can send a message of cooperation and peace to the world. Russian dialogue is India's flagship conference on geopolitics and geostrategy. The theme of the 2020 edition is provocation, uncertainty, turbulence, lighthouse in the tempest. The theme of the 2023 Raisina Dialogue. About the Raisina Dialogue, it is a mutual multilateral conference held annually in New Delhi. Since its inception in 2016, the conference has emerged as India's flagship conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics. The conference is hosted by the Observer Research Foundation, an independent think tank in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. The conference is structured as a multi-stakeholder, cross-sectoral discussion involving a variety of global policymakers, including heads of state, cabinet ministers, and local government officials. And here, Raisina is the place of the President of India, Rashtrapati Bhavan. Okay, and Raisina, to this Raisina conference, India want to create a global architecture on to discuss global issues of concern, inviting all the stakeholders. Okay, okay. So this is what the conference is structured as a multi-stakeholder, cross-sectoral discussion involving a variety of global policymakers, including heads of state, cabinet ministers, and local government officials from the participating countries. It is designed on the lines of the Singapore's Shangri-La Dialogue. Singapore conducts such an initiative called the Shangri-La Dialogue, and in light of okay, in light of this Shangri-La Dialogue of Singapore, so India is conducting such rational dialogue, okay, on cross sectional to discuss cross sectional issues. India and Italy are ancient, so in India-Italy relation, okay, so it is designed in the land of the Shangri-La Dialogue of Singapore. The name Okay, the name Raisina dialogue come from the Raisina Hill, an elevation in New Delhi, seat of the governance of India, as well as President's Palace in India, the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Okay, India and Italy relation. So India and Italy are ancient civilizations by but young states because Italy was unified in 1861 and India got independence in 1947. The classical language Sanskrit and Latin both belong to the Indo-European language family. People of these two ancient civilizations have known, interacted, and traded with each other for over 2000 years. Italian port city were important trading posts on the spice route. The Venetian merchants Marco Polo, during his visit traveled to the east, also traveled to India in the 13th century and wrote about this his experience while he visited India. Indian troops serving with the British Indian Army were active in Italy during the World War II. This includes the Rajputana Rifle and the Gurkha Rifles. The 10th Indian Division took part in the East African Allied Company campaign against the Italians in the Somaliland and the Abyssinia. Okay, the political relation. Political relations with India and Italy were established in 1947 once India became independent. Okay, okay. So coming to the political relation, okay. So political relations with India and Italy were established in 1947. Both countries regularly hold and institutionalize senior official dialogue, foreign office consultants, and Italy-India Parliamentary Friendship Association was established in the India Parliamentary Union Italy chapter in 2000, Inter-Parliamentary Union Italy chapter in 2004. The economic relation. Italy is among India's top five trading partners in the European Union. The balance because Italy is the part of the European Union, okay, and India EU trade negotiations is on. It is not has been concluded, but the trade agreement, okay, is right now under negotiation. Right, the balance of trade has been in India's favor since the early 80s. India ranked 19th as country of origin of Italian import, accounting for 1.2% of the Italian import. Main item of Indian export to Italy are rare ready-made garments, leather, iron ore, motor vehicles, textiles, chemicals, gems and jewelries are exported from India to Italy. A main item import from Italy are general and special purpose machinery, machine tool, metallurgical products and engineering items. Around 140 large Italian companies are active in India. The Joint Economic Commission is an institutional mechanism chaired by the respective commerce ministers of both the countries. Okay, there are visits by the chief of army staff, defense ministers of the two countries. Lot of untapped potential is there in this field because both are right now working to cooperate more and more defense situation. Fine. Cultural exchange. The agreement for cultural cooperation was signed in 1976. It was replaced by the new agreement in July 2004. An executive program of cultural cooperation, the cultural exchange program, is signed periodically under the bilateral cultural agreement. An agreement on science and technology cooperation exists since 1978. The agreement envisages three early action plans under which a maximum of Italy's 30 joint research projects can be undertaken. Indian community. The Indian community in Italy, estimated at 2.5 lakhs including PIO, is the third largest community of Indians in the Europe after UK and the Netherlands. Fine. So this is what, so India-Italy relation is time tested, means it's very ancient, but in the new present period, this is growing, and this growth is in the budgeted. Okay, if the relation is further strengthened, definitely it will be beneficial to all or both the sides. Fine. Then the next topic is Samartha scheme. The Ministry of Textile. Remember this Samartha scheme is launched by the Ministry of Textile. Okay. Samartha scheme is launched by the Ministry of Textile. Has called for application for implementing partners for its Samartha scheme, which will be on till end of March 2024. Nearly 1.50 lakh persons, 86% women have been trained under the scheme so far, and 70% of them are placed in the organized sector as workers. Samartha scheme for capacity building in textile sector is a flagship skill development scheme approved in continuation to the integrated skill development scheme for 12th five-year plan, cabinet committee on economic affairs. The office of the development commission on handicaps is implementing the Samartha to provide skill training to handicraft artisans under the component skill development in handicraft sector of National Handicap Development Program, because so they are the traditional occupation, but if they are given, okay, so given more training, okay, so if they are given more skill training, they can excel in this particular domain. Okay, so that is why this is right now being done by the Minister of Textile to give them more skill so they can make the system more active. Okay, so the Samartha scheme for capacity building in the textile sector is a flagship skill development scheme approved in continuation of the integrated skill development scheme launched in 12th five-year plan by the cabinet committee on economic affairs. The office of, okay, the office of development commission on handicrafts, Central Government of India, okay, the Ministry of Textile is implementing the Samartha to provide skill training to handicraft artisans under the component skill development in handicraft sector, a national handicraft development program. Okay, so objective to provide demand-driven, placement-oriented skill program to incentivizing the efforts of the industry in creating jobs in the organized textiles and related sectors, to promote skilling and skill upgradation in the traditional sector to respective sectoral divisions, organizations of the Ministry of Textile. Because we have a number of traditional artisans in the textile sector. So as per the changing requirement, we need to upgrade, okay, their skill. So skill upgradation will make them more in tune with the present requirement as per the present choice. Okay, so if they are trained, so that will lead to making them more remunerative and making their product more popular or more provide life to all sections of society after the country. Textile and garment industry is a labor-intensive sector that employs 45 million people in India and is second only to agriculture sector in terms of employment. 45 million are engaged in the textile sector, is a very traditional activity. And India has a very big name in the textile domain. It had the name in the British period, it somehow diluted, and at present, Indian textile products are of world standard. India's textile sector is one of the oldest industry in the Indian economy and is a storehouse and carrier of traditional skill, heritage, and culture. It can be divided into two segments. The organized sector is small scale and uses traditional tools and methods. The organized one. The unorganized sector, because they do their in their own traditional tools. Okay, they never. Okay, India's textile sector is the oldest industry in the Indian economy and is a storehouse and carrier of traditional skill, heritage, and culture. It can be divided into two segments. The unorganized sector is small scale and uses traditional tools and methods. It consists of handloom, handicrafts, and sericulture, production of silk. Okay. The organized sector uses modern machinery and techniques and consists of okay spinning, apparel, and garment segment. Okay. Okay. So then the organized sector uses modern machinery and techniques and consists of the spinning, apparel, and garment segment. Other scheme, the textile sector scheme for integrated textile park launched in 2005. So textile park scheme, as it is called popularly, it aims to provide the industry with world-class state-of-the-art infrastructure facility for setting up their textile units inside the textile park. Power tax industry. It is an all-inclusive scheme that made for development of power loom power with sector with further addresses the unheard needs of the power loom sector. Skill Samagra scheme. It focuses on improving the quality and productivity of the domestic silk, thereby reducing the country's dependence on imported silk. Amended Technology Upgradation Fund Scheme. It is a credit-linked capital investment subsidy scheme to catalyze capital investment for technology upgradation and modernization of the textile industry. National Handloom Day. National Handloom Day is observed every year on 7th August to mark the importance of the handloom weaving community in India. The National Technical Textile Mission. The mission aims to position India as a global leader in the technical textile by increasing the domestic market size from USD 40 billion to USD 50 billion by 2025. You see, so textile has a very big prospect in India, and that is what we want to explore it. Okay. Then the next topic is the World Bank Women Business and the Law 2023 report. In the World Bank's Index of Working Women, India gets a score of 74.4%. I'll do the report. India's score in the World Bank Index on the life cycle of working women dropped from 74.4 out of possible 100 due to rules influencing women income and pension that do not guarantee equality with Indian men's. According to the Women, Business and the Law 2023 study from the World Bank, a score of 100 on the Indian index indicates that women men are on equal footing across all variables. India outperformed in South Asia regions average score 6.63.7 but fell short of Nepal which achieved a best score of around 80.6. Only 14 of the 190 countries have received score of 100 out of 100. Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Latvia, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and Sweden. They score 100 out of 100 in the women performance business. Okay, the report stated that India received a perfect score for restrictions on freedom of movement legislation impacting women's employment option and restriction relating to marriage. The report stated that India received a perfect score for restrictions on freedom of movement legislation impacting women's employment option and restrictions relating to marriage. India remains behind other countries in terms of legislation governing women's wages, pensions, and ability to work after having children. Okay, running their businesses and differences in property and inheritance between men and women. Fine. So the question that you take today is the aquaculture can help promote livelihood and make people self-reliant. Discuss the significance of aquaculture for India. Aquaculture is not only fishing, but many other activity that we just see that we are to discuss. According to Food and Agriculture Organization, the UN Agency on Food and Agriculture, aquaculture refers to framing of aquatic organisms including fish, mollusks, crustaceans, and aquatic plants. Harming implies some sort of intervention in the rearing process to enhance production, such as regular stocking, feeding, protection from predators, etc. India has become the world's second largest aquaculture nation and the fourth largest exporter of fish and fishery products, taking brand India from local to global. Significance of aquaculture for India: recognized as the sunrise sector, fishery is one of the fastest growing sector among the primary producing sectors. The sector plays a vital role in the economic and overall development of the country and is hence referred to as the sunrise sector. It is poised to bring immense potential through equitable and inclusive growth. Generating employment, the sector is recognized as a powerful engine for providing employment to 14.5 million people and sustaining a livelihood for 28 million fishermen community of the country. Helping women generate income, for example, in Lakshadweep community-based fundamental fish aquaculture, okay, using local resources, helping women in generate income and making them self-reliant. Fine. Okay, promoting food security. Okay, promoting food security. Rising aquaculture can help in filling the gap between the demand and supply of food for the growing population. rising online seafood consumption. The pandemic, okay, the pandemic-induced lockdowns accelerated the adoption of e-commerce alternatives, as a result of which the seafood industry has witnessed an increase. This could lead to higher profitability for those engaged in this sector. Promoting health and nutrition, fish and aqua products play an important role in providing a balanced protein intake. Fish is one of the healthiest options to mitigate hunger and nutrient deficiency, thereby contributing to the fulfillment of the sustainable development goals set by the United Nations. Increasing farmers' income, the government has set a national target to increase the production to 22 million metric ton by 24-25, fine, which will have a positive impact on 2.80 crore fishes and fisher farmers. Therefore, the fishery sector holds the potential of bridging economic revolution through blue revolution in the country. As you know, so blue revolution is related to the fishery sector. Fine. The development in fishery is in India is known as the blue revolution. Fine. Like the green revolution for the food grain or agriculture, blue revolution for fishery, white revolution for dairy. Okay, similar yellow revolution for the oil seeds. Fine. So this blue revolution has completely revolutionized. Okay, okay. So this is the situation of the fishery sector in the country. Okay. So, promoting rising online seafood consumption. Okay. So, promoting food security, aquaculture can help in filling the gap between the demand and supply of food for the growing population. Rising online seafood consumption, the pandemic-induced lockdown accelerated the adoption of e-commerce alternative, as a result of which the seafood industry has witnessed an increase. This could lead to a higher profitability for those engaged in the sector. Promoting health and nutrition, Fish and aqua products play an important role in providing a balanced protein intake. Fish is one of the healthiest options to mitigate hunger and nutrients deficiency, thereby contributing to the fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goal set by United Nations General Assembly from 2015 to 2030. Okay, increasing farmers' income, the government has set a national target to increase fish production to 22 million metric ton by 2025, which will have a positive impact on 2.8 crore fishers and fish farming communities finally through the Blue Revolution. Recognizing the importance of fish production and aquaculture, government has taken various measures such as the Fishery and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund (FIDF), Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampad Yojana, and the Tilapia Aquaculture Project. The thrust provided by the government will play a pivotal role in achieving the ambiguous target of doubling seafood production. Also, inland fishery has also big scope. Okay, and other related fishery activity, not only fish, but you see that ornamental pearls and other also are part of the fish related sector. Fine. Then coming to the question. ନିରୋରେ ନିରୋର ଭଲ ନିରୋ ତ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଯଦି ଆଣିବା କହିଲ ସମ୍ ଅଲ୍ଟିମେଟ୍ କ'ଣ ହେଲା ଆଜ୍ଞା ହଁ ସମ୍ ଅଲ୍ଟିମେଟ୍କୁ ନେଇ ଆସିବ ସମ୍ ଅଲ୍ଟିମେଟ୍ରେ ହଁ ତ ନେଇ ଆସିବ. Okay, so consider the following statement with response to the Samartha initiative. It is an initiative Minister of Women and Child Development wrong by the Minister Textile. It will provide benefit to aspiring and existing women entrepreneurs. Fine. So this is also not only to women entrepreneurs but all the textile male and female. It will provide online fund to existing women entrepreneurs on medium scale business only. So it is only okay. So which is correct? Okay. So it is only two is correct because it is only for the women entrepreneurs, right? Then two, the Mukunda tiger region recently seen in news in the context of the cheetah introduction from South Africa is located which of the following. So it is located in Rajasthan. Fine. The Kunnu National Park. Fine. With reference to the Raisina dialogue, consider the following statement. The Raisina dialogue is a multilateral conference committed to addressing the most challenging issue facing the global community. Every 2 years, global leaders in the policy. Okay. So it is every 2 years. It is every year, not every 2 year. Fine. So coming to question number 3. So it is only 1 and 3 on the line of the Shangri-La dialogue of Singapore. So 2 is incorrect. 1 and 3 are correct. 1 and 3 means C. But the following statement regarding Observer Research Foundation. An independent global think tank based in Delhi. Its mandate has extended to security and strategy, governance, environment, energy and resources, economy and growth today. It holds multiple international conferences, including a flagship multinational conference called the Raisina Dialogue in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs. Fine. So 4 it is 2 and 3 are correct. Okay, because so which one? This observer so only 2 and 3 are correct. Then with reference to global methane pledge, so it is a pledge to cut global methane emission by nearly 30% in the next decade. The pledge is jointly made by US and the European Union. India is a part of the global methane pledge. So for question 5, so it's not by US and European Union. Okay, 1 and 3 are correct. The following Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission consider the following. It is one of the largest pan-India health scheme for strengthening healthcare infrastructure. It launched in 2015 to accomplish the vision of comprehensive healthcare across the country. Right here, so number 6. So only one is correct. Right. with reference to with the following country set the world's first genetic program to address the challenges of climate change. So it is New Zealand. Fine. So then question number 8 is reference to Harit Dhara. Okay, Harit Dhara related to it says feed supplement development to cut down the methane emission by the cattle because this using this seafood. Okay, so that will reduce buffering will be less. Then Biorock technology is to damage the coral reef. Fine. A. Then 10 the recently declared public health system of pandemic preparedness program and enhanced health service delivery program are two complementary ones. Okay, it is the by the World Bank. Answer is D. This way, so today's discussion is over. Thank you for being with us.